comes to your mind is like, am I going to lose this person? When you get married, like you're like, okay, I'm with you. That's it. I didn't have a plan B. And at that time, when this came about, like we got 2 kids. It's just earth shattering. Despite all the pain, despite all the struggle, like there's hope and there's love and there's light in all of this, and we can bring light to all of this.
Today's guest knows what it means to face unimaginable loss and still choose purpose on the other side. Danny Lesslie is a widower, girl dad, author, and a living example of turning pain into purpose. After battling by his wife's side for 5 years and ultimately losing her, Danny found himself stripped of everything but his faith, his family, and the decision to move forward with meaning. His journey is one of deep grief, unshakable love, and powerful perspective. This is Danny Leslie's story. Daddy, thank you so much for being here, man. Just seeing your posts online and what you've had to go through and how you're able to express it is nothing short of amazing. And I just commend you in a day and age where we're so silent about what is hard in life and how we don't want to express it, especially guys. I just really look up to you on what you've been able to put out there and just the vulnerability you have, man. I think it's absolutely incredible. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's a pleasure. It really is an honor to be here. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've put out a book, you are a father, but one thing that instantly kind of drew me to your profile is your expression of losing your wife. And
Yeah.
I can imagine it's something hard to talk about, but can you kind of set the scene for us before, cancer, this scare started to really take over your life?
Yeah, so we met in Los Angeles. I had a gym out there. She was managing a barbecue restaurant, and we crossed paths. And it was one of those things where we knew that this was our person, right? It wasn't. There was. We started dating, and we were immediately talking about when we were gonna have kids. Like there was no. It was
Wow.
just. It was on. She was my person, and we very quickly. Oh, within a year, I guess we were engaged for I think a year, and then married in 10 months. And then when we were married, we were, 3 months pregnant, and our first came right along. So we didn't have hardly any time being newlyweds before we were parents,
Wow.
which is great. We knew we were going to have kids. So it was just a matter of time. And I always knew I wanted to be a dad. She's always been a mother, and it was just, we're, ready to go. And then our second one came along, and we have 2 daughters. And we found ourselves in Los Angeles and have 2 daughters, and we were like, we don't really want this. So we sold all our stuff, bought a motorhome, lived in a motorhome, traveled, landed back in my family's from Kansas, and
All
and then
right.
we kind of started making a life there. And I started a job ranching, and that was when it happened. And that was when all of a sudden, she had this growth. And so we're a young couple. We live on a ranch. We've got a herd of alpacas. We've got ponies. We've got dogs and cats. And we
Wow.
had a coffee trailer and all of these things going in our life. And all of a sudden, this thing shows up.
Right. I
And
mean, it was
it
already
was
a
a,
big change though, right? From like LA to Texas or Kansas ranching.
yeah.
I mean, that's already a massive change. Is that a hard transition even before the diagnosis?
Oh, it was for sure. It put me into a real identity spiral, because I moved out to Los Angeles to start a gym. I did that. It was successful, and that was so many blessings being there. And
It's amazing.
in the course of that, I met my wife and
Yeah.
had my kid. I mean, that was an incredible time. And then, our life just changed, and we decided to leave. And that was a struggle for both of us. And in that storm, we sold everything we owned and moved into an RV,
It's crazy. Right. And you traveled
and we
around in
lived
the
in it.
RV for what, a year or year plus?
Well, no, we traveled for like 40 some days,
Okay. Okay.
and then just lived in it when we left. And then, which there's just so many stories inside of that alone.
Can imagine.
Um, and then we ended up landing. My parents have a hobby farm here, and so we lived in it for a year. So we had nothing, and just kind of reinvent. I mean, we sold our cars, we sold all of our stuff.
Hmm.
And so then, we started at this ranch. And then, we did that. And then that was where kind of this cancer chapter started. And,
Mm.
I ended up getting fired from that job. We lost our house in the same day. We had to pick up everything. We literally had a bonfire in the yard, and anything that would burn, we were putting on it, like couch, dressers.
Wow.
And then we ended up in a fifth wheel trailer. So we were in an RV again.
Okay.
So I mean, it was a pretty tumultuous set of years.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, around this time though, is this where you get this diagnosis now?
This is 2020, and she noticed a growth on her vulva, and with like, it's one of those areas that you don't necessarily want to go talk about it, right?
Right.
It's having a growth on your genitalia is not like something that you want to go parading about. And so eventually she went to a doctor, and the doctor was like, hey, you got to get this off.
Mhm.
And so we were just like, okay, whatever. And so we scheduled surgery for the next week, and there was no mention of cancer. Like that wasn't even a thing, right?
Wow,
And
they didn't even say it, like, the doctor didn't say that at all, that it could be cancerous or
no, I
anything?
mean, it wasn't really part of the conversation. It was like, hey, obviously it's a growth and it's something that needs to be attended to, but
Right.
we weren't in our minds, we weren't thinking that it was going to move that direction. And
Yeah. Wow.
so she goes into surgery on August 3rd of 2020. The surgery's over. She's in recovery, and the doctor comes out to talk to me, which I wasn't really aware of how this sequence of events was going to go, because I'd never had someone be in surgery, these are just things you learn along the way.
Absolutely, yeah.
And she comes in and says, hey, we did a radical vulvectomy, which they were either going to do a vulvectomy, which is like take the thing out, or a radical one. Right? The
Okay.
radical one is the more serious of the two.
Mhm.
And she said, we did a radical vulvectomy. It was a cancerous tumor. And so I'm just sitting there mortified at what's been said to me, and it was just, this is what she talks about every day. Right. So it was, and then I was like, okay, so what do we do now? What are the next steps? I was just in shock. And she goes, well, basically, I'll give you guys a call next week. And I was like, wait a minute, aren't you going to tell her
Yeah.
that now we have cancer to deal with? And she was like, no, you are. And I was like,
Wait, the doctor said this to you?
yeah. So I'm sitting there like, okay. And
Oof,
I'm like,
that's
hey, hold on.
brutal.
Like, I was pre-med, right, in school, but I'm not ready to tell my wife this, right? And so that was what happens.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just still, like, wrapping my head. I mean, that's part of the job, and it blows me away because of the bedside manner of it all, right?
Well, I also realized that, like, my wife is recovering from surgery, and as the story went, it was 8:30 at night, and she was in surgery at noon, right? That she was able to come to and have a conversation. So what's the doctor going to be at our house at 8:30 at night? What am I not going to tell my wife? So the
Right.
logistics of it make sense,
Ah, I see.
when you think
Yeah.
about it. But in the moment, I felt like this bomb was being dropped on me.
Yeah, what a tough burden to put on your plate, though.
Well, and then so, all the hours go by. We drove home from the hospital. Her whole family was at our house. I didn't tell anyone because I wanted to tell my wife first. And then about 8:30 that night, she said she came to, she'd been sleeping, and that was when I had to tell her. And that's horrible,
Yeah.
having to tell your person that it was cancer. And, we just cried, and it was terrible.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah. So then, that was, like I said, August 2020. And, she passed in the end of 2024. So it was, about 5 years we battled all that.
Oh my gosh, man. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about what's going on in your head over the course of those 5 years. I'm sure emotions are all over the place. I'm sure there's anger. I'm sure there's confusion. There's sadness. How do you go about it? And what is some of the dialogue that's going on in your head?
I mean, we were just terrified, because the first thing that comes to your mind is like, am I going to lose this person?
Hmm.
Because if you do, when you get married, like you're like, okay, I'm with you. That's it.
Hmm.
Like we're going, like it's me and you, and that's all.
Right.
And then the foundation of that gets rattled, because like, well, if I lose this person, I'm I didn't have a plan B.
Right.
like
Yeah. I
like
mean,
I'm fully like fully committed in this. And at that time when this came about, like we got 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
We had just moved our entire life somewhere. We, don't have a whole bunch of finances to lean back on, which I came to find out doesn't matter anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just earth shattering, and there's the relational piece of it. There's like the personal piece, which is like, man, how am I going to do this without her? And there's the logistics of it, and there's the financial piece of it, and there's the kids. And there's just so much. And what happened to me over the course of those years was we became very moment to moment. I was in right now, and I couldn't think about this afternoon.
Right.
I couldn't think about tomorrow. Because when someone's bleeding, you got your focus for right then, and then you have the kids, and it was really a minefield all the time, and that was where the first time I really feel like my reality moved outside of my control. I could openly say that, like, I have no control over this. Like,
Yeah.
I have no financial control. I have no ability to help my wife with her health. I I have no answers
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
And so that was where it became like, okay, God, what do you got for me? Because I had nothing. And admittedly so, I didn't. And she would say the same thing. Like, it doesn't matter. Like to sit there in your room at night, be exhausted and trying to go to bed and listening to your wife weeping in the bathroom.
Whew.
And there's nothing you can do.
God, it breaks my heart. Yeah. And it's tough, right? I think very different circumstances, and not that it's about me at all, but I after my accident, being in the hospital, and then, being so independent as a guy, hey, I can do this for myself. I can make anything happen I need to, I'll go out there and make more money, or I'll take control of this. And then to all of a sudden have no control over things that you care about in your life is devastating, but it is such a like mind F in a way, like, because it's just so, for me at least, and I'm sure it is for you as a guy, it just seems like you should be able to fix anything. And when you have no control in fixing it does fuck with you. And I'm sorry for the language, but it just does. And I don't know how. How do you approach it then? How are you approaching it besides like, I'm taking it one day at a time, or is that simply it?
I feel like that's kind of the secret. That you don't, not to worry about like tomorrow, because what I've learned is I never thought my wife was going to die. I never would have thought that ever. Yes, like when we're 80 or, something like that, when you're like, oh yeah, we're old, it should happen. Right.
Mm-hmm.
What's to say that I'm going to show up tomorrow?
Yeah.
Really, for any of us, it's the same conversation. And this, these experiences we've had along the way, along these 5 years, really reinforced that. And even in this case, it's still something I battle, because you have to plan for things, you have to do that, but also the importance of right now is paramount, and it will always be that way. And there's so many cliches, that say, well, the future never gets here and the past is done, and it's like, it's the truth. And when you look back on your life at 90 years old, all you're looking back at is a bunch of nows.
I love that.
Yeah. You're never, and it sounds funny. Everybody just kind of blows it off. And I try to tell people, like, hey, like, I didn't think this was going to happen either. And the mental loops of regret when you lose someone are really, really ferocious. And there's also no answer to any of those things, because your person is gone. You can't ask them anything. So your investment in the right now, and your investment in your presence in your moment, is the only insurance you have against this like monster of regret that's coming.
Yeah.
I promise it will show up even if you try really hard in your life. Like, it's always like, well, I could have done, it's there, and it's really hard to deal with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. And you're right. My therapist always says, like, don't should on yourself. Because I used to be like,
you're shitting all over yourself.
Yeah. I'm like, I should have done this. I could have done that. I could have. But the fact of the matter is like, I did my best. Like, I thought I prepared as well as I could, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, but it's like when I thought my life was over, I looked back and I was like, you know what, man, you tried your best. You tried to be a good person. You worked as hard as you could. You did everything you could. And do you, I want to get to the moment also for you when she passes, because I think that it must have been so hard. I can't even imagine. I almost can't put it into words. But is there a sense of relief? Or is it pure confusion at that moment? Is it just pure despair? What
Yeah.
is that moment like?
I have a lot to say about that, but so we battled for 5 years, and over 5 years, um, there were like it was kinda like this, right? I would say there were 3, possibly 4, like, major tumor surges. We had to battle, like, the tumors grew up, and we kinda beat them back with radiation or chemo or, different methods throughout the years in different places. But over that time, if you looked at the whole 5 years, what you'd see is a gradual decline. So, coming from my point of view, looking at my wife, she's getting thinner. It's kind of, she was in bed on her belly for 2.5 years.
Wow. Ugh.
I mean, think about that. Lay on your belly in bed every single day, almost all day for 2.5 years. It's like,
Yeah. I mean,
it's crushing.
yeah, I had it for almost a year on my back. So I can't even imagine
Yeah.
an added year on top of that. And yeah, just pressure wounds and
Yeah.
yeah, just the atrophy from your muscles and just pain that pops up because you can't move. I can't
Yeah.
imagine.
It was, her ability to be present and be joyful and be a mother and be a wife throughout that time was it's unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's otherworldly, and it just I was watching her go through this, and people always be like, "You're so strong" to me, and I was like, "Man, you should know her.
Mm.
Like she's the strong. I'm just next to her, you know."
The admiration and the compliments for you are deserving, but it is hard to accept it because you see somebody else who seemingly is going through a tougher position, right? I get compliments sometimes that's like, hey, man, you're a hero. You survived this thing. And it's like, man, I don't feel like I did, though. I just tried to live and I just tried to do the best I could,
Yeah,
and I also, as bad as my injuries were and severely burned and all that stuff, like I know there's people who've gotten it worse. I
yeah,
was blessed in a way because I had so much support and I had a great medical
yeah,
team. And, I was able to also get a lot of help out when I got out of the hospital. So I will say, I think you deserve the credit, but I also can understand that it's probably hard to receive it.
yeah. No, I appreciate that, and I tell people the story because of her, right? And we were able to weather the storm together,
Hmm.
and that's why I talk about it. It's not for compliments or whatever. Like I don't, and okay, great. I appreciate all of those things, but I would trade in all the compliments and anything ever just for her back.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, take it all. We've lost everything before. So it's like,
Yeah.
I'm okay to do it again. It's
Yeah.
okay. We've been there.
Yeah. When you see her going through this process and she is positive and she brings this joy and she's suffering so greatly, what do you tell yourself? Like how is it affecting you? Like what are the thoughts going on in your head when you see her just being this light?
Sorry.
Sorry,
It
man.
just it just broke my heart because I because I can't fix it.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm a tool guy. Like I'm a guy that's got tools and I want to fix stuff. I
Yeah.
built a deck. Like I can build things. Like I can, you know, I still struggle with it. Like I couldn't fix it.
Yeah.
And and that's the worst thing because there's there's nothing I wouldn't give. Like I would give everything that I would receive for the rest of my life to have her back. I just don't care. And and for the life of me, there's nothing I could do. And so the only thing that I could do was just be present and just help her. And, thankfully, you know, God took everything away from us. I lost 2 jobs, we lost a house, we lost everything. And I had 15 months with her where it was me and her every single day and the kids, of course. That's all I did was take care of her.
Yeah.
I didn't, you know, thankfully we have legions of angels here on earth that financially supported us throughout this thing. And that's the reason that we would talk about, even like in 2021 when she was first really dealing with all this, we would talk about writing a book. And because of what was happening in our lives, it's like is none of this is explainable. Because I can say one thing, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm saying. It was completely outside of my control. But it was happening and it kept happening. And it was in such profound ways. And to experience that and experience the heartbreak of like what was happening to her. Like it was like, this is all there's no way I could have provided in that time, so all I could do was be present for her.
You're amazing, man. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that with me and going there. And I think you're a badass. I honestly do. I appreciate the hell
Thanks.
out of, yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's strong, man. It's strong. It's strong to know where our capabilities end. It's strong to admit that we wish we could do more and that we can't. It's strong to be vulnerable like that. And man, you're getting me. You're getting me, honestly. And I just feel honored to talk to you and to share this moment because you're an incredible guy. As tough as what I went through, I can't imagine being where you were at, and then also to have your daughters there and to be a father for them. And you're a rock. You're an absolute rock, man. So I truly appreciate you sharing that.
for sure. Yeah, and like the emotions aren't bad. Like crying is not bad. Like she's my favorite thing to talk about.
Yeah, I love it.
The problem is I just cry every time. So it's okay. It's okay. Like it's not it's just that's what happens to me. So
Yeah.
we like I said, we had 5 years to fight, and I would have fought for 20 more years. I was like, I'll run it in the dirt. Like I'll give up everything I have to fight for her.
Yeah.
And we got what we got. It's 1,592 days we
Mhm.
had. And I tell people like it's and you understand this in a different way because of pain, of healing. But I tell people like she woke up in pain, I would say every single day for 1,592 days.
Mm.
And she was still a loving mother, a loving wife, a joy to be around. And that's why I post the videos I post, because to experience her was to love her.
Yeah. She was amazing too.
But I say, like, take a pen and tap it on the table 1,592 times.
Right.
I promise you'll stop before you get there.
Yep.
And that's tapping a pen. That's not waking up with pain.
Hmm.
And to have someone do that and have the presence to still bring joy to this world is like,
Yeah, it's incredible. It's
yeah,
something that some people are just born with this extra gift to give and to be a light and to be full of love. So you're going through this process. I want to move forward into how do you start healing yourself, right? Because I can't even fathom this hole that's left in your heart and now in your family. And she was this amazing light. How do you start moving on? Where do you go from this total pit of despair to where you are now? And I have my thoughts where you're able to kind of express things through social media, now your book, which we're definitely going to get into. But how? Like, what is the thought process? What do you have to tell yourself? How do you start shifting your mind to, all right, I've lost this thing, but I still have a life to live.
I want to just correct one word you said.
Sure.
You said moving on, and I don't think that's possible. I think that moving forward is possible because in the semantics, I realize what you're saying, and I'm not saying you're a bad person by saying that.
No, no, definitely. Yeah, I love it.
I believe that words are very powerful.
Absolutely.
And I believe when you say the words move on, you minimize where you were
Mm,
and you minimize the experience of where you were. And in the case of trauma,
mm,
in any fashion, not just meaning what I've been through, what you've been through, but in any fashion, there was a presence of ourselves inside of that space, right? And it's important that we honor that because you were there and that has shaped you very much into whoever you become in this space, right?
yeah.
So I believe that you can move forward in your life, and inside of the moving forward, there's all of the emotions you want. There's all of the struggle, all of the love of your previous life. It's all there. The difference is that you're choosing to value your piece of that experience.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas moving on is like, nah, I just closed that book and that's not, it's like, okay, well, but it did happen to you. And
Right.
whether you can see the trauma, which in like a burns case, yeah, you can see that
Yeah,
whatever,
the
or in
scars and
my case,
everything. Yeah.
like the hole that's in my heart, you can't, maybe you can't see that, but I promise you it's there every single day.
Yeah. I love that. I love that distinction. You're right. And I have always said words have power, and I completely agree with you. And I love that distinction because you're right. You can't ignore what you've been through. You can't say that
I
didn't
mean,
happen.
you can.
I personally don't think it's healthy though. Like
No, it's like you're carrying a heavy suitcase
right. Yeah.
and you just never acknowledge it. It's like, well, you got that suitcase, man. You might want to like
Do
admit
something
that
with
you're
it.
holding it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Or not. Or not, you know. But when she passed, oh, what I was going to tell you was over the course of the 5 years, I believe that we grieved during that time. Now, I didn't realize that I was grieving. I didn't know I was going to lose her. But inside of that, there's a very heavy sadness that was with us all the time.
Mhm.
Because, when your wife is barely able to walk and using a walker, going to the store, it's just heavy. The whole thing is heavy. And we did that for so many years that I think part of the grieving was happening during that time. So when she passed on 12/12/24, it was very, very numb.
Mhm.
I think your body, I know the chemicals in your body are protecting you from that moment.
Yeah.
So for, I don't know, a month or so, it felt really numb. And I felt like I wasn't able to connect the life that I just loved and that I cherished to the space I was in now.
Right. Yeah.
I felt like I was in a foreign land because, all of the love that I had for her
Mhm.
at the end that was, I would say, being expressed in the logistics and taking care of someone, like all of that love that I was using on a daily basis,
Mhm.
maybe it's not in like the like romantic feeling that people have about love, but it's love, right? It's you're using it.
Absolutely.
All of a sudden stopped. And I was really stuck and I was really struggling. And I'm pretty vocal about what I battle, obviously through, social media and the people. I have a whole bunch of people that I'm so blessed to have in my life that I talk to on a daily basis about what's going on with me. But I wasn't talking about this and I was really struggling with this piece of it. And I didn't know what to do. But I also was kind of like chewing on it because I wasn't even sure how to get it out of me in a fashion that someone would be able to understand.
Oh, 100%. I'll say you're right because all of a sudden you experience this new facet of life and it alters how you operate with life. And then you quote unquote go back to the normal world and you're like, how do I do this? Like, I became this other person. I unlocked this other side of me. I experienced a new level of love and grief, and things in life have changed in priority now. And then it's like, oh, go
Yeah.
back to being your normal self or go back to normal life. And you're like, I don't know how to do that. It's just this
Yeah.
weird thing that my body has adapted to and my mind has adapted to. And like, how do I reintegrate, I guess?
Yeah. And it was interesting because part of me was upset because I didn't ask for this.
Right.
I committed myself to her and to our life together and to having our family, which also means that I commit to this part of it as well, which I later found out. But in the beginning, I was like, I didn't want this. I didn't want to lose and there was this like anger. And I was in those months that kind of after it came, I heard this quote, and I talk about it all the time, so you might know, but Andrew Garfield said that grief is all of the unspent love that we carry for the ones we've lost.
Oh yeah, I love those interviews he was doing after he lost his mom. He had just these beautiful ways of expressing
Yeah,
this. Yeah.
and when he said unspent, and that was such an interesting word to me because unspent would signify that, like, there's a full bank account, and your problem is that you're not spending the money.
Right. You can't.
So right, so then I started to think, and that was when I started to write. I started to feel that all the love that I had that was backed up, that was, I use the example of water. Like when water is still, it gets stagnant. When water moves, it becomes clean, right?
Mm.
So what I had was stagnant water, right? I needed to make it move. So I started to write, and I started to, post videos of her, and I put a big collage in our house, a whole wall, a mama wall. And have you seen it?
I don't think I have. No.
So it's like it's it's a collage, and it's a 600 picture collage or something. And
Wow.
there's these frames that I filled with pictures, and it's the whole entire wall. It's this mama above it. So it's this in a lofted room. So it's like she's there. All our memories are there with us.
Yeah.
But I started to use it, and use this pent up, all this love, and that started to change everything.
What did it feel like when you wrote the first letter, journal, whatever? What did that feel like for you?
Are you just talking like in general, just writing anything down?
Yeah, as soon as you wrote that first passage or anything, did it
Oh, it
feel like anything to you? Even the first post on Instagram?
when you press the, like, little thing on a tire and it lets air out?
Yeah,
It felt like that.
beautiful.
It was like, "Tss,"
Mhm.
and I was like, "Wait a minute," because here's the thing, nothing is fixed, and I'll be very clear. The only thing that I want is her back,
Yeah.
and it's not happening. So, what we can do is we can change things,
Mhm.
and we can change ourselves, and that's where we have to find a new way to view this experience that we've had, regardless of how much you hate the experience, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're still here, right? So the thing that really shook me was like, okay, why would I still be here? Like, what is the purpose?
Yeah.
Because the pain is such that it's like, if there's no purpose, let's just make it be over. Because I don't want to carry this thing.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think that was a big shift in me too, where I was like, I have to make a purpose out of this accident, right? Like,
Yeah.
to your point, like I could have never. I've said this before. I never expected in a million years that this would happen to me, and I was like, wait, what? Why? Like, I was a good person. I thought, I was going to church all the time. I was praying every night. I was reading my Bible. I'm like, I'm a good person. Like, how did this happen to me? But to your point, it was like I had to change my perspective. I had to find purpose from it. And
Yeah.
is that where you kind of started going with it as well?
Yeah, well, I honestly, I started doing it for very selfish reasons. It was just helping me cope with my reality. When you have someone that has been ill for so long, the the memories of them, the front-loaded memories of them in your mind are all ones that you don't really want.
Right.
And that was really something to contend with. My kids asked me, "Hey, tell me something about mama." And all that was in my mind was the stuff you don't want to tell your kids about mama, right?
Right. Was those recent tough times?
It feels like PTSD is what it feels like.
Oh yeah, it sounds like it
Just
too.
the stuff you don't wanna remember. So there's, like, all of these memories in my mind, and they're not good ones, and for me to, like, trot that out and tell you isn't gonna help you,
Right.
and even if it helps me to, so it's like, what am I supposed to do with this? Because I can't just erase it, like, it's there.
Hmm.
And so what I started to do was I started to look back through all my phone and my memories and my videos and pictures, and I was like, I'm just gonna start posting these
Hmm.
because these are like the peak, of what I have proof of, that I can see. And so I started to do that. And, on my personal account, I did it, I think, for 130 some days.
Straight like a post every day.
Yeah, like a new video of her or us or our kid, like every single day.
Wow.
And every single day I wrote, and it was what's interesting is that I was writing some sort of poetry, which is weird because I'm not a poet, nor have I ever really loved poetry. I just kind of was like trying to get like the all the gunk out of me,
Right.
and it came out in like short, powerful like phrases, you know? And I just kept doing it because it was healing for me, right?
Yeah.
And then, what I've found is that people see that and they feel that in their lives and they speak their own pain into that space. And inside of that, it's this weird healing thing that is happening. And it's like I said, it was because I needed to release the pressure because there was going to be a Danny size hole in the wall,
Right, right.
if I didn't. And I was like, I can't be, I can't go get drunk all the time. I can't do all these things in my life. I have to find a way to move forward.
Right. I love the pressure gauge. I think that thing is that analogy, metaphor, I should probably know the difference. It speaks so much to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
It became this thing where I could feel we always talk to our kids, and my wife was a wizard with kids. She was a teacher and studied for that. But I always tell people if there was a room with 100 adults in it and you let like 20 busloads of kids go,
Mhm.
all of them would be sitting in front of her.
That's awesome.
She was just that person.
Yeah.
And we would always talk to our kids about, hey, look, there's a storm in your body, and it needs to come out of you, but the way that it comes out shouldn't be punching someone in the face, right? You should do something, right? So I looked at it that way. And I was like, I have this storm inside of me that will not stop.
Yeah.
And as an adult and a leader of a family, I have to find a way to
Yeah.
get it out. So it just happened to be writing.
That's incredible. Yeah, I will say, I mean, reading your posts and reading what you write, I mean, you sound like a poet. You sound like you've been writing your whole life. And I completely agree with you too. I think I connect with it so much because I feel like I have those feelings and I don't have the words for it all the time. So I
Yeah.
think it's incredible in you, but I love that this pressure gauge starts releasing a little bit, right? That unspent
Yeah.
capital of your love is now being able to be dished out in small ways. And when does it start hitting you like, all right, maybe there's something here. And not only it's helping me, but oh my God, it's now helping a bunch of other people.
So I was writing every single day, and I was just doing it, like I said, for me. It was just to help my brain and to help my heart. And, people started commenting, and I was like, oh, cool. Like people actually kind of dig this, and,
Mhm.
but still, it was like, it was for me. Like, I don't, cool that you like it, but I'm just, I need to help myself because I'm going to freak out if I don't.
Oh, yeah.
And, and it just kept going. And I just was like, all right, I'm just going to keep going. And I just kept doing it. And the one time that when I really noticed a difference was I heard a song on the radio, and because it was on Instagram, when you post a video, you pair it with music
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
and
Love
you
that.
and you put words to it, right? So if you can emotionally connect with someone and if you can spark nostalgia in a person, which I think is like the granddaddy of them all,
Yeah.
right? If you can do that, if you can capture someone in that moment, you've done yourself a service because you've created this, like, I'd call it like a core memory.
Yeah.
But you've also helped someone else. And I've been fortunate enough to do that a few times. And I heard a song on the radio that I had used for a post. And the memory that flashed in my mind was the video I had posted.
You create your own core memory.
I had moved the cue back a little bit, right? I had put one up there that was good. And I was like, and it just happened. It was, 90 or 100 days in that that happened. And I was like, oh, like, wait a minute, this is changing, right? And this
Yeah.
doesn't go to my girls and I watch videos of mama every single night.
Wow.
And what we do is we go to my personal Instagram and we just click and we just watch videos every single, and we've done it every night. We missed one night, but it was because there was like this huge tantrum blowout and it wasn't happening.
Right, right, right.
But we're 180 days or something out, And every night we've watched videos of her.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
It's a big like connector time for me and the kids.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a way you bond with them. It's a way you honor your wife. It's a way that they get to learn her. And I love the core memory thing. I love Pixar movies. I think of Inside Out and
Yeah,
that where they
great
start
movies.
putting
Great.
absolutely, but they add one of the best things that movie does is at first all the core memories are just happy and they're fun and
Yeah,
they're lighthearted. And in that first
yeah,
movie, I believe it's about injecting a little bit of sadness. And
yeah,
I love that metaphor, and I love that we can start creating these things ourselves. When you're a kid, it just seems like things are just happening to you. You're like, oh, I'm gonna go play with my friend and it's all fun, it's all good. But then to inject a little sadness with that core memory, it gives you the full scope of life. And I think it unlocks so much
yeah.
for yourself. And it's beautiful that you found a way to do this for yourself, but also with your daughters.
Yeah, that was a really hard moment was so my wife got sick 5 years ago. So our girls are 8 and 10 now.
Mm-hmm.
And the 10-year-old turned 10 since after she passed. So you're talking 3 and 4
Yeah.
when this all went down. And so I told the girls a story of their mom, like right around when she got sick,
Mm-hmm.
and neither one of them remembered.
Mm-hmm.
So what that tells me is that they don't remember their mom healthy at all. And I'm so angry about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so unfair that that this is their life path, right? No girl should lose their mom. No kid should lose their mom.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart that that's the case and that their memories are of her when she was ill. Now, I'm very thankful that we had all of these years to fight for her because it created a memory of their mother, which is amazing. But also, I really want to show them their mother when she was healthy because she was so magnificent. And to not know her is like,
Right.
so silly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Oh,
so that was part of it too. I was just like this irresistible urge to just keep doing it. I was like, I don't care if it gets 0 likes. I could care less. Like
mhm.
it's for us. It's not for everyone else. It's for our hearts and our eyes and our lives.
Yeah.
It's just Instagram's a cool place to put it because of how it brings things together. It's very unique.
Right, right. Isn't that amazing though? Like because it is considered it's social media, right? Like it's supposed to be
Yeah.
social, and yet I think that's something that get lost for people sometimes where they're like, "Oh, why would you post that? It's cringe," or "Why would you like share this with people?" But sometimes it's not about that. Sometimes it's about what speaks to
Yeah.
you and it comes from your heart and what you think should be out in the world regardless of how many people consume it or like it or whatever. And as much as you are blessing other people out in the world, there's this element too of like I get some satisfaction out of it. I get some peace and I think just that. I get some peace out of it.
It's interesting because the amount of messages that I receive about people that, they say, "Hey, thank you for posting this. This really made me think about my life in a different way." I'm like, if all of it can do is just do that, like just make people take stock of their lives and move differently and love their people. And I think about if I could have another day with her to like love on her and like what I would do with that day. And it's like I don't have that. And I can't have that. And I also, it self-admittedly was not a good person with grief before I had this experience. Like I didn't know
Right.
how to how to talk to someone about it because I hadn't experienced it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things, when you have grief, like people say something to you that like a platitude or condolences, and it's just they're not able to connect because they haven't experienced it. And it comes from a genuine place, right? It comes from like, hey, I really feel bad. I just don't know how to level with you.
Right.
But it's that deep, deep pain that isn't touchable.
Right.
And no, there aren't words. There just aren't words.
That's kind of what I was going to say.
And that's okay.
Right.
But there just aren't words for it. And if there were, believe me, I would know them. I would have tried
Right.
to find them. Like they're not.
Yeah. I tell myself that too. We went to a funeral recently and it's like, I wish that I had the perfect words that would just kind of heal the pain or take it away, but there's not. And all we can do is just be there for that person. And to your point, I think also on posting those things where it's like, you're like, if all I can do is just make people realize how good they have it and to love the person that they're with right
Yeah.
now. I mean, 100%. I think about that all the time. It's like,
Yeah.
there's so many things I think I appreciated a lot in my life. And I think I really tried to be in the moment and everything. But there's so many things where I'm like, God, I would have just gave into the amazingness of that moment. I would have gave into the joy. And again, you know, I wanted to be cool. I don't want to embarrass myself. I'm a guy. I want to be tough. I want to, all those things, right? But it's like, you know what? Fuck that. I just should just be here and be thankful and be in this moment and just
Yeah.
love this. And yeah, and I think if we can instill that in other people, you're right. Like to me, that's it. That's worth
That's
it.
a win.
That's a win. Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
a win. Yeah. And it could all just go away.
Yeah.
And that part sucks so bad. And the craziest thing about the whole thing is it's coming for all of us.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, people are like, well, you shouldn't talk about, you know, death and da da da. I'm like, well, it's the only thing we all know is coming for us.
Yeah.
Like, I
100%.
don't know why you wouldn't talk about it. Like,
Right.
you know,
I
because
find that weird these days.
I can tell you that over the course of the years, I would say that my wife really came to terms with it like 3 times, which is a monumental task that I can't imagine. I have not the work that she did internally and is unbelievable. And I did have a time where I was driving down the road when we were in Scottsdale, and we did 4 months of treatment in Scottsdale, and I was just driving, and all of a sudden I was like, "Huh, I'm not afraid to die anymore."
Mm.
I don't know why it showed up. I wasn't like pursuing it in my mind. I wasn't, you know, we had our talks and things, but it just showed up, and I would have no other place that I want to be except with my wife and my family trying to save her life. I was like, this is the path, the best path I could ever be on, right?
Mm.
And it just appeared in my head, and I was like, that's interesting, because I realized that it could all be taken away, right? And then after she passed, we were driving, and one of my daughters was like, "Papa, I'm not afraid to die anymore."
Mm.
I was like, "Huh, that's cool." And the other one was like, "You know what? I'm not either. We get to see mama." And I was like, "Is this right?" Yeah. And
Yeah.
but like you think about the bandwidth of a kid, the emotional bandwidth of a kid that's had this, that's processed this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you imagine? Like, I couldn't imagine myself at 8 years old being like, "Yeah, I'm just not afraid of it."
Well, it's funny that you say that because, and this is not like I'm amazing or I did anything incredible, but we had some family friends that were actually murdered, and we would have been at their house. It was like we would have gone over to
Oh,
their house and all these things, and it was the first time I ever saw my dad cry. And I saw him
yeah,
on the news, and he's crying. There's police outside of the friend's house and everything, and he comes back with my aunt and uncle, and I was about 8 years old. And I don't know why, but he came back and my parents are crying, my relatives, and we're staying at my aunt's house. And I turned to them and I said, it's okay. They're in a better place. And I remember having this like sense of peace over it. And I don't, again, this isn't like to toot my own horn or anything like that, but I had this sense of like, this isn't it. And there are worse things besides death. And also death can be beautiful. And
yeah,
it's a weird thing to kind of reflect on now, but where I'm at, I mean, I had this moment of when I thought I was going to die. I was so terrified. I remember the dream so vividly. I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And I want to hold on. But it was this sense of like, no, a peace washed over me. And it was like, you did everything you could, you tried to be the best person you could. And there was a sense of peace. And I find myself a little bit scared that I lose that feeling a little bit more every day. The more I engage with life, the more that the podcast does what it does, the more I get to have amazing conversations, or the more I get to have fun experiences here on earth, I get more and more afraid of losing that fact. And one thing that I've been diving into, sorry, I'm just like on a train right now, but it's like,
you're good.
I've been reading a lot of meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And one thing he always says
Yeah,
is death will come for us. We have to accept it. We have to live like that. And I love it. I know people say like, hey, it's so morbid to think about death, but It's not. The
Yeah.
thinking about death and thinking about what you're going to lose constantly is a constant reminder of what is and what you have now and
What you have.
what you're capable of doing now. And
Yeah.
lights me up the fact that we have so many amazing things at our disposal in this moment, and even in the terrible moments, even when you're sitting in your car and you're trying to, save your wife's life and taking her to these medical things, you have this moment of still being present with her and being present with your
Yeah.
family. And I'm sure it sucks, but also it's like that core memory. There's sadness there, but there's also beauty.
Yeah. There definitely is. There's both, and they can coexist.
Yeah.
They can absolutely coexist. It's interesting because throughout this journey, there were, like we talked about before, these moments of like completely out of control. Like I don't have, I have no answer. And there were so many of those moments. And that's one thing in the book that I talk about. So I'll tell you a couple of them. So we had, my wife was looking for this blood test, and it was a blood test to pin a marker on cancer cells. And we were having trouble pinning a marker on her cancer cells. So she had vulvar squamous cell carcinoma, which was a rare thing. They didn't really have any information about it, especially of someone with her age.
Wow.
So we're trying to find it. And then I put up a GoFundMe, and a man that is a mentor of mine that runs a Bible study I've been going to for years, shared it. And then one of the guys in the Bible study reached out to us personally with this long text message he sent me. And in that text message, he mentioned the blood test that we couldn't find. Well, the GoFundMe didn't talk about it. No one knew about it except we just couldn't find it. That was just context for the story.
Right.
So we're like, oh, he has the blood test. So we're like, let's go. So the next day, we literally went to his office, got the test done. They had to send it to Greece to get the results.
Wow.
And he goes, hey, man, he's like, the test was $8,000.
Okay. Whew.
And
That's
we were
steep.
like, we don't have it. Like, we might have had like $100. Like, we didn't have $8,000.
Right.
All of our money was spoken for. And so we're like, okay, great. And then we're just like, hey, how do we pay for this? And then he goes, hey, I can give you like an employee discount type situation, which would make it like $6,300. I'm like, cool. That's amazing.
Thank you. Still don't have it. Yeah.
Thank you. But still don't have it.
Right.
And I promise you, this is what happened. She got a text from her friend, one of her best friends, who I'm actually going to go see today, that said, hey, my church decided that they were going to donate this month's tithe for the whole church to your family.
Wow.
And we were like, that's amazing. And then her next text message, it's $6,300.
Shut up. That's incredible.
These are unrelated events that happened in like this time of, maybe it was maybe an hour.
Wow. Because it's not like the church would know you need $6,300.
They have no idea.
Right.
No one knew that we got the test done. Like it wasn't knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Only we knew. And then come to find out, this pastor spoke at my wife's celebration of life. I talked to him then, and this is, 4 to 5 months after she passes that we had the celebration of life, and then years after this $6,300, right? And he said, hey, I wanted to tell you that and I said, thank you and all these things. And he said, yeah, I just wanted to tell you that when we donated that money, we had made a choice in our congregation that we were going to give in a wildly generous way, like more than we should. Mm. Like financially, it doesn't make sense to give this much money away, but we're going to do it anyways. And my family was the first recipient after that decision.
Wow.
And this is admittedly a time where I'm like, I have no control of what's happening. I claim no responsibility for any of all of this, right? And I was like, there's only one reason this happened, and it's God. That's it.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that story happens. There are many, many, many others. And then another one, we come to this time of like when we're going to go to Scottsdale. And, my wife really needs treatment. Like the tumor load is tremendous. Like we can feel like we need to get this treated. And we go there and we find a place and they're like, okay, basically the conversation was, yes, we have a treatment plan for you. Yes, we can start right now, which required our family to move 1,700 miles, all of these logistics, but we can start it right now as soon as you can get here. And it was going to cost something like $200,000.
Oh, oof.
And this is like, it's on a pay to play basis.
Mhm.
And like, I'm like, okay, well, if you want to do this, we want to do a blood test while you're here because we want to get rolling. And so we're sitting there, my wife and I, and it's like, yeah, we'll do it. Now, mind you, our bank account does not say that number. It says almost $200,000 less than that number, right? So we have nothing. We don't have any of it, basically. So we do the blood test. The blood test was 2 grand. That we basically like that was our rent type of deal.
Yeah.
And so then we drive back we flew back. I'm sorry, which mind you, my wife can't sit
Mm.
because of where the tumors are, and
Yeah.
we flew on a plane.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So figure that out.
Yeah, I can't. I
She's
can't
on her
even.
back in the seat with her feet up against the seat in front of her
Mm.
because she has tumors on her back. So she can't sit.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So there's like all the logistics there.
Right.
And then so it ends up happening by God's hand. We get home, put up a GoFundMe. This is the third GoFundMe. Like it's like asking again, like how can I possibly ask again?
Right. Right.
Like it's heartbreaking. It's that like it's like take your ego out of it. And but I was just torn. And I kid you not, 10 days later, we're driving to Scottsdale with almost all that money in an account.
That's incredible.
And it's like you can't tell me that's not God.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you one thing, I didn't earn it. I didn't sell anything. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the evidence is just undeniable. Like it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
And so and we kept having this happen. And so, we always talked like, hey, let's tell this story. Let's despite all the pain, despite all the struggle, like there's hope and there's love and there's light in all of this and we can bring light to all of this. And that was like my only charge after she passed was like I have to bring light to this. I have to bring hope to this. This can't just exist as this dark hole.
Right. I think this is a perfect place to start moving into the book. Thank You, Cancer, because
Yeah.
yeah, you recently launched it, and I'm waiting for my copy to come in. But tell
I'm so
me,
excited about it.
you're all good, man. Let's talk about kind of the premise and what you were able to kind of express in this book.
Like I said, it was we wanted to tell our story since like it basically began. We made a decision early on that we were gonna talk about what we were going through on social media, which is some people don't agree with, whatever. That's what we did, right? And so we were just very vulnerably talking about our life and what we dealt with and just putting it out there because I think that a lot of people suffer through things like this. And that was we're like, we're just going to talk about it and that's just going to be what we do.
Yeah.
And so we did. And we talked about like, hey, how could we do a podcast? Could we do and we kind of always wanted to write a book, but we wanted to write a book,
Yeah.
meaning she writes, I write, she writes, I write, because we had both written a lot in our life. And so we just ran out of days.
Yeah.
And it just breaks my heart that we couldn't do that. So a month or so after she passed, I had this huge time void in my life because when she was here and I was caretaking, it was very intensive. There was always things to do, right? She wasn't getting out of bed at all. She wasn't walking at all. There's a lot of logistics to it. So there was this huge time void, and obviously I felt like there was a hole blown in my heart, and like I had mentioned earlier, I started to write. And I didn't necessarily go at it this way, but I started to think about the book and I was like, okay, how could I write this book now?
Right.
Because I want I want to make this dream of ours come true. Even though she's not here, I still want to honor that.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I went back and I looked for all of her writings because it was important to me that I didn't just talk about her. I wanted her. So
Yeah.
I took the majority, I would say, maybe not the majority, but I took a lot of her writings over the course of the 5 years. And what I did was I took them and I just very rawly dropped them into a timeline.
Mhm.
And just so basically sequentially, it's like, okay, here's 2020, here's 2025, here's the timeline, right? And when I did that, I was like, okay, we kind of have a story, or at least the architecture of what might be a story. And all of that is in her original words.
Wow.
So I didn't edit anything. The only thing that ever happened in those words is that sometimes there were like weird spacing things.
Okay.
So I just like put them space wise to make it look more appropriate.
Right,
But
right.
all the spelling errors are there, all the grammatical things they're all there, right? Because I wanted her original words. And she didn't, and those weren't finished. They weren't like, they were just raw. They were in the moment. And for me, when you write in the moment, there's a depth and a like a vicious diction is what I like to say that
Okay.
exists in your words that you can't capture afterwards
Mhm.
because you're in the moment. You have like the angst and you've got it all, and you can really,
You're just
like
pouring into it.
transmute it into the words.
Absolutely. It's just pouring out of you.
Yeah, so I wanted to keep it that way, so I did, and so I have her words in this timeline, and then I took my own from the moment of those years, and I put them in the timeline as well. So then what you have is you have a story that's somewhat like a patchwork quilt that's told from 2 different voices,
Right.
and I was like, "Alright, that's cool," and then so what I did was I went back through as a narrator, and I stitched them all together.
Mm.
And then I put, like, okay, we're missing a patch here. How do we get from here to here? And I had to like from a narrator perspective, put it back in there, which is still technically my voice, right? But it's done to as the reader can see the story. Now, what you have in this moment is a story that's told like if you and I and her were sitting around a campfire
Mhm.
and we were telling you our story,
Right, right.
this is what you've got going on. It's very informal. It's very raw. It's just the story, right? And I don't say he said, she said. There's no he replied, she replied, blah blah blah. It's it's delineated with my words are in full margin, and then her words are in bold.
I love it. All right. So visually, you know.
And then the part that I haven't told you about yet is that there's a third piece to it because there were so many of these, like we call them Jesus moments throughout our story. And the $6,300 one's one, the $200,000 one's one. There are many, many more. And those are in the story because those were really, really important pieces in our story.
Yeah.
And there's so many of them that it's this undeniable stack of evidence that despite all the pain, all the struggle, that God was like, hey, I'm going to light your path the whole way.
Mm.
And so those appear in the book, and those are done in my voice, but they have a dark background to them, like a shaded background. And then I have a good friend of mine who's a pastor here in town in Austin that went through and matched a Bible verse that applies to each one of those Jesus moments. So what you have, so if very literally, you have a story that is told from her voice, from my voice, and from God's voice.
Wow.
And it tells the story of this incredible story of love, of loss, of hope, of struggle. There's just more to this than cancer or death, or there's more to it, and there is a beauty in this that is bigger than all of us, and that was what we wanted to put out into the world. And I'm so honored to be able to have cobbled it together and made it into a story that can stand and can bring people through this experience and show. And that's why I tell people, like, there's so obviously more
Mhm.
that we don't know, because why would we be here? And that's that call to, like, it's that call to, this experience is bigger. It's the call to God. It's the call to purpose. It's like, what are we doing here? Because I'm still here, and I admittedly didn't want to be.
Yeah. I love that this book also, I mean, visually you see who's saying what. There's a cohesive story, like you said, that you are able to kind of connect these journals from your wife and give context to it. And then to look at a heavenly or otherworldly entity and how they would relate to this situation or these individual moments. I think it's a beautiful storytelling. I can't wait to get my hands on it and just see it and just see how it plays out, because it's amazingly done. You know, it's unique, I think, for any type of book, but it just sounds not only beautiful to read, but just like beautiful to look at.
Yeah, well, let me tell you one more story. It's pretty crazy. So when we talked about after she passed, I was struggling with just in general everything. But the thing that I was most struggling with was not feeling her presence anymore. You know, you walk into your house and it's like it's empty.
Yeah.
You know, I can't be like, "Hey, babe."
Right. It feels like something is just missing out of that space now.
Yeah, and it was torturing me. Like it was even when I was writing and I was still like I was really really struggling with that. And I had a friend that lost her husband, and God bless her. She has a lot of kids, and but I knew she was going through what I was in, and she sent me a book, and the book is called Signs, and it's a great book. But in it said, hey, like if you want to communicate with your person because they're not in this physical space anymore, you got to initiate the conversation. I was like, cool. What do I have to do?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, just ask them to communicate with you. And I was like, okay, cool. So I did, and so let's say that happened like I don't know, on a Tuesday night or whatever. It tells you, ask your person to communicate with you and decide how the communication is going to happen. So I was like, okay. I was like, Raph, just please communicate with me. I don't feel your presence. I'm really struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, her favorite animal is an elephant. And I was like,
Okay.
there's probably going to be an elephant involved if she communicates with me. Right. And that was
Okay.
about all I thought. And then, you know, the kids started stirring or something. I had to go make dinner and I just forgot. And then that night, a couple hours later, I get a message from a friend, and it's this undeniably Raffy flavored message from this person.
Okay.
And right, it was like something that she would only say to me. And she sent me a clip. I don't know if you know who Brandon Lake is. He's a Christian singer. He's amazing. It was one of his songs, and literally the lyrics that he was singing in the song were written, they felt like they were written for my heart in that moment.
Wow.
Like brilliant lyrics.
Yeah.
And it was like, but these are things I haven't discussed with anyone.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
And the person that sent them to me, I had told her in the past, she was like a soul sister of Rafi's. And I was like, when I talk to you, I feel her presence. I told her that weeks before.
Wow.
And she sent me this message randomly. And I was like, okay, that's mind blowing. Right.
Yeah. Yep.
And then, so I was kind of like reeling about that. I go to bed. The next morning I wake up. I get another message from another person, a friend of hers, who has the same name as the other girl, mind you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
This message says, hey, this might be a little early, but I wanted to introduce you to a friend of mine who lost his wife in 2020. After he lost his wife, he wrote a book.
Okay.
He then started a publishing company. And I was like, what? Because unbeknownst to her, I had started writing this book that we're talking about 3 days before I got the message.
Okay. Another Jesus moment, another amazing coincidence.
2 weeks before that, I had called another friend of ours that wrote a book and was asking her publishing questions, who is also a very good friend of my wife's. So she has no idea that I've started writing this book. She has no clue.
Yeah.
She just happened to send it to me.
Okay. Okay.
So I was like, all right, cool. That's crazy. And I was like, and I was kind of laughing to myself, and I was starting to write back like this amazing story that was now forming.
Right.
And then I see the 3 dots appear on her Instagram, and I was like, oh, she's typing. So I stopped typing and I was waiting.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I forgot to tell you, when my friend passed in 2020, I was with Raffi at the elephant exhibit at the Kansas City Zoo.
Dang, man. I was wondering how this elephant was going to come back in the circle. Like, wow.
Dude, it was an afterthought in the like Oh, I forgot to tell you.
Yeah, yeah. She just threw it
And
in.
by the
By the
way,
way, elephant exhibit.
no one knows about the elephant thing because I didn't tell anyone.
What? That's
No one
crazy.
freaking knows.
Wow.
So that is who published the book.
Yeah.
And if you look at the back of the book, there's an elephant on the back of the book.
Well, come on. Like, yeah, if that
Yeah.
wasn't meant to be, I don't know what is.
We have a story we tell ourselves about our life, right? We look for evidence to back the story.
Oh, yeah.
The evidence that has been shown to us over all of these years is like, listen, God's right here.
Mm.
Oh, let me tell you another story.
Okay, okay.
So in the book, I quote the lyrics of the Brandon Lake song.
Okay.
Brandon Lake, I don't know how many followers he has on Instagram, probably he had millions, right?
Okay.
The chances of like me sending the dude a message and it getting to him are less than zero, right?
Right.
Like not gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're writing something, permission matters.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
I reached out to those guys that wrote the song and I got a message back. Yes, you can use our lyrics.
Oh, wow. It's incredible.
And those lyrics were the lyrics that came to me from her friend. Right after I asked. So you think about like the circles and the loops and the connections, and it's like, dude, I mean, I could talk about these stories all day long, and it's like,
I know it's just too amazing. Yeah, absolutely. All these incredible circumstances. I don't want to say coincidences. Those Jesus moments, as you would say, these miracles.
Well, they're not.
Yeah, it's just absolutely incredible. The book is called "Thank You, Cancer," right?
It is, yeah. And I will tell you, I'm not going to tell you why it's called that, but I will tell you there's a very good reason for it. And it was a big moment when it became that name. There's a very good reason for that. And I realize it's very polarizing, but there's a very good reason for it. And if you read the book, you'll understand it.
Well, I'm definitely gonna. I think I immediately can't wait. Hopefully it'll come in the mail any day now.
No, I was just gonna, so I pre-saled the book. So I approved the last cover edit, I think yesterday or the day before. So it has to go to print. So they're gonna have to print it. So they're printing them, they're gonna send them to me. And then I'm gonna send them all. That's just, unfortunately, printing a book is not cheap.
Yep.
And you really take a gamble to do it. So
Absolutely.
This is the only way that I was able to do that. So the books should come in August, in the first part of August, and then I'll ship all of them out.
Okay.
So like one by one, it's going to take me forever, but it's okay. But yeah, so that's when it'll be, probably mid-August when everybody receives the books, but I don't have one either. So
no, it's all good. All right. Well, I can't wait to get my hands on it. Thank you for all that. We got 2 quick questions before you head out. The first one that I ask everybody is, what is bringing you the most peace?
That God gave us more to this story. It's not over when she died.
Wow. I love it. I love it. It's absolutely incredible. All right. The next question is, if somebody is going through their tough time right now, they're going through their biggest loss, their confusion, what's one piece of advice you would give them?
There's always hope. Don't ever let go of hope. When she was going down, when it was like, you knew, it was these last weeks, you got to make a decision whether you're going to give up or you're going to keep holding on. And it's hard when everything around you is burning down. And I couldn't bear the thought of her thinking that I'd given up on her. Even regardless of how she was looking or how she was feeling, I just couldn't do it. So I chose to hold on to hope. And, you could say that we lost because I lost her and she was all I wanted. But I would say that we won because we didn't give up.
Yeah.
Hope is very closely tied to faith. It's that, and I think you can't see it. And that's the problem. And that's the beauty in it, is that you have to hold on to it when you can't see it. And the evidence that we had throughout these years was that God was lighting a path for us and that there's hope, and there is. And I wasn't looking for evidence of it because I had evidence of it. And despite all the pain and all the struggle, and I think she would say the same thing to you. Is that there's hope, and it's bigger. It's bigger than this physical space that we are in. Otherwise, there wouldn't. I don't know why people would go through things like you've gone through, or I've gone through, or she's gone through, and still be here.
Yeah.
I. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I love it. Yep. Just always believe in hope and hold on to hope. I love it, man. You are an amazing individual. I just feel honored, blessed, all the above to hear more of your story, to know you. Yeah, just to get to connect to you. You're just, yeah, honestly, I'll just say, I feel like you're a hero of mine. Your vulnerability, your ability to express yourself, all of it is absolutely incredible. You're such an amazing dude. We'll have the links to all of your channels, to the book, everything in the show notes. Thank you so much, Danny, for
It was a pleasure. It was a real
having,
pleasure.
yeah, for taking some time with us today. You're one of one, man. I just truly appreciate it.
Thank you, man. It was a real honor, and it's an honor to be in such a space. So thank you for creating what you've created in your life, because I know the feeling of getting cards that you don't want and using that for good. And I don't know if I could have done that if my wife and I didn't agree on that before this all happened.
Yeah.
And so this space is a testament to that. So, you have an amazing story as well.
I appreciate it, man. Well, we'll definitely have a lot more conversations to come. I cannot wait to read the book. We're going to be, as far as I think, friends for life. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Can I tell you one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
When I announced the book, I was in my kitchen and I was making eggs in the morning, and I had basically completed it more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And I put it out into the world, via social media, that I was, that I had completed this book, and you'd think it was a celebration.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very heavy moment that I wasn't expecting.
Oh,
because she wasn't here to do it with me.
Mm.
To become authors together is so cool. And as much as I celebrate that, and I'm proud of it, it's like, yeah, but we don't get to celebrate it. And that's like the burn, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also inside of that, it's like, if you don't lean into it, I talk to people about grief is here. It doesn't matter if you don't like it. It doesn't matter if you don't want it. It doesn't matter what, you can't drink it away. You can't nothing it away. It's here. It's coming for you. What you can do is you can dance with it.
I love that.
And you can, because it's here.
Right.
And your ability to engage with it and just feel the feels. I'm crying right now. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
But your ability to do that honors your path.
Yeah.
And and if you don't, well, then what were you doing before?
Right. Yeah. Daddy, I appreciate you being a person that dances, man. Because your dance is wonderful. It's incredible. Yeah.
I'm not a very good dancer, but
well, the way you're dancing in life with what you had to deal with and the way you're dealing with it is incredible, man. I want to watch you perform the rest of your life, man. So yeah, aloha. Thank you so much, man. All right.
Yeah, brother, it was awesome.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Sick Burn Podcast. It was an honor to sit down with Danny and hear his powerful story of loss, love, and purpose. His honesty, faith, and willingness to share reminds us that even through life's deepest pain, there is still a path forward filled with meaning and hope. If today's conversation resonated with you, please subscribe, share the show, and stay connected with us at Sick Burn Pod on all the social media channels for bonus content and behind-the-scenes stuff. Until next time, keep showing up and continue to explore the bright side to life's darkest moments. Aloha.